Well, Barbara, thanks for coming here and talking with me this evening. We've been talking about how the Holy Spirit moves in our lives, and sometimes, we don't recognize it, and sometimes we struggle to understand when the Spirit is moving. But I know that you have a story to share with us that is like such a clear example of the movement of the Holy Spirit. So I wanted to have you come and share the story. And I know it's about the freezer that we now have for our food pantry. So why don't we just start talking about how it all began?
Well, it began just about the holiday season with 2020. And over the holiday season, we get turkeys and we get a lot of meat donated. But after the holiday season, it's always been a little slow. And you questioned me one time saying, "Do you think we need another freezer?" And I said, "Well, I'll think about it." And we were in Bible study about 2 or 3 weeks later, and a telephone call came in for me. So I stepped out of Bible study, and it was a truck driver who was delivering to Walmart some frozen fish fillets, and he had a skid of fish fillets left over and wanted to know if we could use them. And I told him, "Oh, gee, I'd love to, but we don't have the freezer space. And we're thinking about getting another freezer, but we don't have one just yet." So I hung up with him and I went back to Bible study. And 5 minutes later, maybe not even 5 minutes later, the phone rang again. I stepped out, and someone wanted to donate 20 turkeys to us, frozen turkeys. And I said, "Oh, if I had the freezer space, I would take them. We're thinking of getting another freezer, but we don't have it yet.
Yeah.
And so I'll have to say no." So I walked back into Bible study and I looked at you
Yeah.
and I said, "I think God's talking to us.
Yes.
And we best get another freezer."
Oh, yes. Yes.
So had I known we were going to be able to get that freezer in maybe, what was it, 5 or 6 hours, I would have said yes to both of these people. But I didn't, because we had kind of drug our feet. So that afternoon, we located a freezer at Home Depot, and 2 or 3 of the men from church went over with an SUV, picked up the freezer, and by 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon, we had a freezer. Well, it was an empty freezer, of course, and 2 weeks later, Doubletree Hotel was closing down their restaurant for a year and wanted to know if we could take everything from their freezer. We filled up that freezer, and we actually had to throw out some of the frozen French fries and stuff, because we just didn't have the room. But we got some very lovely different meats from Doubletree. So that freezer was a godsend.
Yeah.
And the Holy Spirit really just took us by the shoulder and said, "Yes, you need to do this now."
And I don't think it's been empty since we got it, has it?
No, it's about a little better than 3/4 full right now.
Yeah.
So, yes.
So let me ask you, because I just think it's such a great story. So I was in the Bible study, and I remember when we had kind of talked about, should we get a freezer, should we not, and then you kept getting those phone calls, and then your eyes met my eyes, and I remember looking together at that, right? And we were like, "Oh my gosh, Holy Spirit, we hear you,"
Oh,
right?
yes.
And then we just got the freezer right away.
Right.
Yeah. What did that
It was-
do? How did it make you think? What was it? What was going on inside of you with all of that?
This was probably the biggest Holy Spirit movement that I have experienced with the pantry. I see it in smaller ways almost all the time in the pantry. We'll be low on one thing, and I'll say, "Oh, maybe we better go shop for some baked beans or some coffee or whatever." And before I can get out to the store, someone will have come with bags of groceries that have those items in them. Several of the churches around here are very generous to our pantry, and all I have to do is say to them, oh, we need Jell-O. And the next week they've got 4 or 5 bags, grocery bags full of Jell-O and whatever else we needed at the time. So the Holy Spirit works a lot in our pantry.
Yes.
An awfully lot. And it has been one of the things that has strengthened my belief in the Holy Spirit working in our life.
Wow. Thank you for sharing your story with us.
Yeah.
It's a great story to hear because it inspires us, all of us, to learn to listen to the Holy Spirit
Indeed.
and know that the Spirit is there.
Indeed.
Right. Thanks for sharing your story.
You're welcome.